Love in Public, sponsored by Sara Jones Law, PA. At Love in Public, we discuss issues of social, economic, and community justice in a way that's accessible and relatable to everyday people. I'm your host, Sara Jones. And today's guest is EJ Nieves. I am so excited to have EJ on the show. EJ and I met a couple weeks back when the city of Lake Wales commissioned him to do a street mural for the city. I am super excited to have you on, EJ. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
What's going on? Good morning. Thank you for having me. My name is EJ Nieves, and I am super happy to be here.
So, EJ, we'll jump right into it. You are an artist, which I love. I have a very sort of creative and artsy side, but my job is very much one of those ones they told you in kindergarten was a great job to have.
Yeah.
But I, as an adult and a person who has learned to think outside of the box, understand that you can actually create a career out of doing what you love, even if it's not a doctor, lawyer, or Indian chief. So
Yeah.
tell us about your career as an artist. How'd you get started? What makes you love art? All of that stuff about yourself.
Oh man. It's I'll start off by really giving a shout out to my mom because even as a kid, she was just always involved and always cheering me on with all my quirky artsiness. Like I was just always that artsy kid, always asking for pencil and paper and drawing pads and just whatever. We'd be at the store and I'd be like, Mom, can I get this and can I get that, and a whole bunch of art supply type things and comic books to get me all excited and enthralled about the imagery and the art of it, right? So you know um I've been a professional artist now for professional, I'd say for about 6-7 years. I'm 36. I've been drawing since I was in third grade. So to kind of give a short synopsis, I have just always been into art. When I was in high school, I thought that I wanted to be an architect, and I do not like numbers. That's why I have an accountant, and she does the numbers for me because I see numbers and they start swirling around.
I can
And
relate.
so I thought I wanted to be an architect, but the numbers, spooked me. And so I strayed away from that, went to UCF for graphic design. I was in Orlando, Florida, and graduated. And Orlando is just supremely competitive. And and it was a whole other conversation. A lot of people that I actually interviewed with, that I was in waiting rooms with, didn't even go to college. And so it was just kind of an intriguing thing where we're kind of in this era where a lot of people don't necessarily have to go to college to have graphic design type jobs, web design type jobs, and things like that. So I was kind of learning that the hard way. So when that was happening, I went up the retail side. So I started trying to work my way up Target stores, and just kind of work my way up management. Found out that wasn't for me. My mom has been a teacher now a high school teacher now she'll be retiring soon. So she put in about good 27 years. So she would always encourage me, think about teaching. You seem, you always seem like you like to talk to, people and inspire people and speaking to people. So she actually inspired me to try out like substitute teaching, and then that alley-ooped into me being able to send off my transcripts from college to Tallahassee, and they were able to give me a 3-year temporary teaching certificate as an art teacher. And so really that's when it started getting serious, and coming to school every day teaching middle school kids art. And some of them really loved it, and the rest of the class was like, Mr. Nieves, what am I doing here? So from there, I was teaching during the day, and then I was painting at night and taking commissions and getting myself ready for trade shows like comic conventions. I would do the circuit all over Florida, so all different cities from Jacksonville to Miami to Pensacola, just all over the state of Florida, doing shows and traveling with my artwork and selling. And it got to a point where I was getting so busy with the artwork that I had to make a decision, because I was putting in 50 hours a week as a teacher, and then I would come home and put in another easily 20 to 30 hours pushing staying up late, painting commissions and preparing for shows. So it got to a point where I had to make a decision. I let go of teaching. I'm still a teacher at heart. I miss that aspect of life where I'm still able to like teach and speak into a child or an adult about art. But now I do art full time. I have an online store. I take commissions. I do murals, and now I'm opening galleries. I've opened my second gallery in Ocala, Florida.
That's
So my
awesome.
whole thing now is just trying to build bridges for artists that are emerging, up and coming, to really, and then to link them and to bridge that gap between them and understanding how to be successful and do it full time. Just because I was that person, that artist that I would work during the day, especially during my retail days. I would work 40, 50 hours a week and just always be thinking, man, like, how would it feel like to wake up and paint and create and be able to live and make a living off of that. So
Yeah.
that, I know I kind of was long-winded with that, but the whole story is enough to write a book, right? So I just want to kind of give a shorter synopsis of my artistic life/career.
That's really awesome, because I think a lot of people who have creative minds and do art and music and different, again, not the traditional, they tell you in kindergarten, this is a good job,
Mm-hmm.
they're afraid. Did you have that fear surrounding trying to get more into being a full-time artist, or is that something that just kind of came naturally and you didn't really have to do much?
The fear came from because so I didn't have like a safety net in Orlando. My mom at the time, in my mid 20s, I graduated college, graduated UCF. I didn't have a safety net that was in a big city. My mom lives in a small town called Crestview, Florida, and even before that, I grew up in a town called Shalimar, Florida, which is about I'd say about an hour, about an hour from Pensacola, just like give a relative place, about 2 hours from Tallahassee. So I grew up in a small town. And I remember thinking to myself in my 20s, I want this life, right? I always think about how it would be to be an artist and to be able to wake up every day and to create. But the safety net wasn't there. So that's what kept me working, 9 to 5 in it. At some points, more than 9 to 5, because at some points, where I was living, because I was kind of living in bigger cities, Daytona Beach, Orlando, Florida, the rent was high, the cost of living was high. So I had to pull like 2 jobs. At one point when I was living in Daytona, I was having like 3 jobs. Well, there was a season of my life rather where I had 3 jobs because I just couldn't land like a full-time job that paid adequately. And so it was just a safety net thing. And so it was hard. I would definitely say it was hard. And it wasn't until I became a teacher, making salary and kind of having a little bit of flexibility, because as a teacher, I had summers off and I had, Thanksgiving and Christmas break off. So I had these seasons where I was able to practice and still, I would be able to dedicate a couple weeks or a handful of months to my craft, knowing that I had a fallback plan with teaching. And I hate to say it that way, but it got to a point where I just knew that teaching wasn't for me. I enjoyed the aspect of being able to pour into a child's life, but just not in the public sector. And there's a lot of red tape in education or public education. And I can only speak for Orlando, Florida, but it was rough. So I would say it was a tough transition, and that in itself, like the story or kind of the tells that when I was on that cliff and I was ready to jump, it was scary. And it took a summer of me, because I would always get a little part-time job in the summer because I wouldn't receive a paycheck as a teacher. And so the last summer, I made a decision. The last summer before I quit, I made a decision that I wasn't going to get a part-time job. I was going to see if I can live 100% off of my art. So I hustled. I worked hard that summer, and every week I was, depositing money and into my bank account per or via my artwork. And by the end of the summer, it really just kind of started to make sense. Like, I can do this, but I know I have to work hard. I have to learn how to discipline myself. You're not just waking up and clocking in and clocking out. I had a lot of discipline work to do because, you're an entrepreneur. At that point, you're an entrepreneur. You're living your own life your way, but you just can't sleep in all day. You just can't watch Netflix all day, and trust me, I had my seasons where I'm just like, well, it's kind of scary, but you know, I'm even in my fear, I'm just gonna sit here and watch this Netflix original. You know, like
Fear can be
even though I gotta pay rent in
paralyzing.
4 days, I gotta, you know,
Yeah.
so with my job, when I had my career as a teacher, and when I had like my part-time jobs and my full-time jobs in management, you know, they kind of set it up for you. This is your schedule. This is what you got to do. All you got to do is come in and work hard. You know, like
Yeah.
you come in, you work hard, and you follow our lead. And so that was definitely scary going from, it was almost like a forced discipline. You
Mhm.
kind of walk into your role where entrepreneurs, you know, entrepreneurialism and, you know, just kind of making your own path and full-time
Yeah.
artistry, you wake up, but you just kind of have to figure it out. Like, okay, well, I gotta, you know, cold call. I gotta email people. Do you need a mural? You know, even my connection with Lake Wells, that was a 5 years in the making, because
Mhm.
shout out to Andrew Allen. He had been following me on Instagram for 4 to 5 years before he became the director of the Lake Wells Art Center,
Mhm.
and then contacted me. So it's like I was planting seeds years ago. So it's like there's
Yes.
so much to talk about in the realm of that. But so yeah, it was scary.
No,
It was
that's
scary.
completely awesome. It's so funny because I know exactly what you're talking about because when I went to law school, I fully intended on working for somebody else for my entire career. And
Mhm.
what I found when I went out into business was that I was a great lawyer, but a lot of the business stuff I was not ready for. And I had to quickly get myself ready for it. And one of the things that really is daunting that people don't understand is making those decisions about what you're going to do every day and trying to be sure that that's the right thing. Because when you
Yeah.
work for somebody else, they tell you what to do every day and you go and do it and you earn your paycheck. So it's something that's totally different. Along that note, that summer in between where you were making that decision and you had decided to go full time artist, tell us about what that experience was like for you. Like, can you get into a little bit of the detail? Because a lot of our viewers are small business owners or people who are really considering taking that step. And I think it's important for them to really understand what that experience was like for you, the good, the bad, and kind of how you got through it. What made you say, yeah, this is what I'm going to do?
So I remember, and this is kind of a, so I just remember, I believe that everybody has a breaking point. It's kind of like that moment where you say, okay, I've been thinking about the fact that I'm about to jump ship. I'm about to jump off the cliff and go full time in what I'm doing, or my side hustle is going to become my full time hustle. So, you know, everybody had that breaking point. I had that breaking point before that summer, that year, that pretty much that last school year, um, going into the summer. So I said to myself, okay, well, I have to put it to action. And for me, because I naturally am not a disciplined person,
Mhm.
working for somebody else was easier
Yeah.
for me. Um, you know, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, working for somebody, I'm not gonna say this for everybody, but for the most part, yeah. If somebody tells you, EJ, this is your uniform, you're gonna wear red and khaki. You know, I used to work for Target. You're gonna wear red and khaki.
Mhm.
I'm gonna hand you a sheet of paper that's gonna give you your schedule. You're gonna come at these particular days, you know, and then when you get here, we're gonna have particular tasks for you, and just work hard. Excuse me, work hard, and then you clock out at your designated clock out. So you clock in at your designated clock in time. You clock out at your designated clock out time, and then we'll see you
Mhm.
tomorrow, or we'll
Yeah,
see
and
you the
that's your
next day.
obligation right there.
And that's your obligation, right? And so the very, very first thing, oh my goodness, the first week of me being like, because I was used to,
It's like Jeopardy music the whole the whole
yeah,
time.
I was used to going in, and even as a teacher, right? Like as a teacher, you go in, you have
Mhm.
your classroom, you set it up, all that. So I was just always used to working. So the first week of that summer, what I like to call breakthrough summer, let's just call it breakthrough summer. The first week of that breakthrough summer, I I was scared. So a lot of times I was kind of like in fear, staying in my bed and like, okay, I'm scared. I have, well, 3 weeks, maybe a month, because at my apartment complex, they they would give you until like the 15th, and that's when they would put the eviction notice on your door if you didn't pay. So, and then by like the 17th, they got the police like knocking on your door, like, okay, you're evicted. So I always knew, and this is funny, I always knew that I had a grace period of like 12 to 15 days to play with, right? Like every month to be like, man, I got to work hard, because if not, I'm going to get evicted. And so the first week, it was scary. The first week, I'll be real, I stayed in bed. I watched a lot of TV because I was trying to kind of mask the fear and mask my responsibilities and put it on a shelf.
Mm-hmm.
But it got to a point, and I'll never forget this. This was wild. Like at one point, I went to the Dollar Tree, and because I at the time, like I was struggling. I didn't save money, so in the very beginning, there was just this moment where I went to the Dollar Tree. I only had about $10-$20 to my name, and I bought canned crab. It was crazy. I bought like canned crab, some corn. They had like some bread, and I literally, the night that I had canned crab out the can, no mayo, like nothing. It wasn't even like nothing. This canned crab with some corn that I bought from the dollar store. I remember that was the moment when I was like, all right, EJ, like now it's getting real. Like you have no money. You got to put your money, you got to put your thoughts to action and manifest money. And at the time I was painting art, putting it online, selling it. They would buy it off my website. I'd ship it, do it again. And it was really this moment where the rubber met the road. I was forcing myself to say, I could go, this was while I was teaching. I could go to Target and try to get a job, but even still, there's an interview process. There's a training process. You're not going to get a paycheck until 2 to 3 weeks. When you start working, there's usually about a 2 to 3 week time frame.
Yeah, you got to work for the money first.
You got to work for the money first. There it is. You got to work for the money first. Even if you got direct deposit, right? You might get your money in 2 weeks as opposed to 3 weeks, that first paycheck, but you got to work for your money.
Yeah, and $10 isn't going to pay yourself for 3 weeks.
Oh yeah, that first 3 weeks when you get that job, when you need it, it's tough. And so that was me, always falling back to that thought, like, EJ, even if you were to fall back and work at McDonald's, Target, whatever little part-time job you're going to do to get yourself through the summer, you know that grace, that 2 to 3 week period might be your eviction. And that was always, it used to be in the back of my mind, and then it got to the front of my mind.
Yeah.
And that's what kept me going every day. And then at that point, every day I wake up early. I would paint, hustle on social media, build ads and create ads, and, get on Photoshop or whatever, download an app that can help me kind of create something fun, or to express myself, to show my artwork. And it was just a hustle. Every day online, every day on social media, every day talking to people on DM, every day. Nowadays, depending on your market, you can cold call. But in my case, I was cold DMing people. Mm-hmm. So, hey, how's it going? My name is EJ Nieves. I have this artwork. I have this product. And I was doing that every day.
You were selling.
Nonstop. And then finally, all the no's started turning into yeses. Because how does the old adage say? For every 10 no's, you're going to get a yes.
Yeah.
For every 10 no's, you'll get one.
So I want to talk about that. So I have had several young people come to me and some other people I know, and they're on their way to college, and we talk to them. Well, what is your career path? What is it that you want to do? Mm-hmm. And some of them have sort of non-traditional career paths, or some careers that have been traditional, like for example, journalism, but you don't see as many staff journalists and being able to get a salaried position and stuff like that. And so I have sort of been the lone wolf in the room saying, yeah, you can do that. Go ahead and go after that. But one thing I always tell them when they tell me that is, as you're going to get your journalism degree or your art degree or your music, whatever, take a minor in business. Find out about marketing, find out about sales, learn how to translate your passion into something that is marketable. And that's not, those aren't the words that you just used, but that's what you just said. You said you found out how to make that thing that you love to do marketable.
Yeah.
Was that something you did instinctively? Did you read about it? Did somebody tell you, or did you know you just had to make money from your art?
Yeah, so for me, that was something that I learned, and I give a lot of credit to Gary Vaynerchuk, and he's one of the old school influencers, and old school. And I want to say old school, I mean like he's been doing it now for like almost 10 years. I mean he's been kind of like a social media guru, telling people to crush your Monday, motivate Monday. He's the guy that, I mean, he got books out and all this type of stuff. So during that time, because you figure this was now going on 5 or 6 years ago, he was kind of up and coming, and his story inspired a lot of people. He took his family's wine business from like, I think it was like crazy, like 100,000 a year to like 1 million a year. But his story is very inspiring because it had a lot to do with dedication and putting in true effort every single day. Like he did a wine review video every single day. I think it was like, I mean, literally a year straight. So he came out with like, I think it was like 365 videos, and he came out with one every day. And his whole thing was just do it. Even if people aren't watching, even if the views aren't there, even if people aren't liking, even if people aren't supporting or whatever, keep doing it, because that's ultimately what's true to you. And so I have a saying, your vibe attracts your tribe. So ultimately, you just have to keep putting out your vibe. You put your vibe out, It might take a year, it might take 5 years, but ultimately when your vibe kind of transcends, right? Like the YouTube universe or the social media universe, it'll attract your people, it'll attract your tribe. And so, yeah,
Exactly.
So for me, with the unconventional jobs and stuff, really it's about workmanship, and it's about, do you really love it? I think that's how I always, because I would have, and I was in middle school, I was a middle school teacher, but I already had kids that were like, yeah, I want to be a YouTube star, and I want to be a rapper, and I want to be an influencer, I want to be a blogger. And I would always tell them, I know that it looks good and it looks pretty and it's unconventional and it looks free, right? Like this freedom of waking up and grabbing a camera and putting it in your face or following you while you do fun things. But there's a workmanship that goes behind that and a work ethic that goes behind that. And so, yeah, I'm with you. I mean, I usually am the oddball in the room, and I'll even go a step further. And this is not to disrespect anybody that goes to college, but I'm talking more unconventional or entertainment based. I actually don't even believe in people going to college. I'm like, if you're going to spend 20, 30,000, like $1,000 on school, use that money, take out a 30,000. I mean, if you're going to invest, right, take out a $30,000 loan and buy your computer, buy your lighting equipment, buy your camera, buy the car that you need to travel the United States to then do your blog, or to buy your tiny home, or whatever you want to do, right? But I'm talking more unconventional and entertainment based, because so many people now want to do unconventional type of careers, but I don't think they really are understanding what it takes to do it. I mean, because it is an investment. It's a lot of work. I mean, I'm almost a decade in, and now I can say I have about like 150,000 followers across my platforms. You know what I'm saying? Like, now I can say that. But
but
when
if
I
you had
first
stopped
started,
after year one, then it wouldn't have mattered.
Exactly. And everybody starts at zero, right? When you open an Instagram account, you're at zero. Everybody starts at zero, period. Even if you're a celebrity, you start at zero. And so I don't know. I'm just going to kind of put it this way. I think nowadays, I don't think it's a generational thing. I'm not even going to say that or claim that. But definitely nowadays, there's this thing where you see so many people online doing unconventional things that we are desensitized to the work that it takes. I think we see it as an entertainment, and we say we could do that, and then people think that they can do that. They try it for a month, and then they give up. And then
a lot of people, even just recording videos, like I know when I started doing more marketing and things for my firm, me sitting down to record a video was like, all right, take 3. All right. No, like there's so many videos of me be like, all right, Jones.
Yeah,
Like I
yeah.
literally like I told my staff I'm gonna make a blooper reel so that
Oh,
everybody
do
can
it.
see me like rubbing my eyebrows and like putting my head in my hand, like because it can be frustrating, and then after you've done like a whole 15-minute video and then you mess up the last part,
Yep.
and there's a lot that goes into it, and then also the part about putting yourself out there,
Yep.
because I think a lot of people who see the YouTube sensations and the influencers, they see the part of it where everybody loves them. But
Yes.
there's always an adverse side to it. There's always the opposite. What I found is the more people love me, the more people I find just looking at me like, well, who she thinks she is, and
Yeah.
and don't get me wrong, I don't really pay much attention to those people because that's not what's important to me. But I don't think people who go, especially young people who sort of see the glamour side of it, it's like when we were young and we saw stars in movies, and it would be nice to be a movie star, but there's a certain cost to celebrity,
Yeah.
and so that I think it's important for people, like you said, to really love and want to be doing what it is that they're doing, because that is what's going to make you not go get some other hustle when you only got $20 in the bank. It's what's gonna
Yeah.
push you to say, no, this is my thing. This is what I was meant to do, and this is what I was meant to be. And so I'm gonna find a way to monetize it. I'm gonna find a way to support myself doing it, because this is the livelihood that I want. And so I think that's so, so awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I remember, because I mean, I'm 36. So when I was growing up, there wasn't social media, but there was 106 in Park. There was MTV Cribs. Oh my goodness. MTV Cribs was the one that got me all the time. Like, oh man, like I want a house like that. Like I want a car like that. I want a pool like that. So like, growing up, yeah, you see MTV Cribs, 106 in Park, you see Little Bow Wow, sitting on the couch, and he was like the king of 106 in Park. And you just be like, man, like I wish I could do that, or I could do that. And, I think everybody at that time, wanted to be a dancer, or wanted to be a rapper and stuff like that. But now it's like this serious influx, because now, even kids have smartphones. They might have, some parental locks on it, but some parents still let their kids on Instagram.
And you
They let
don't
them on
have to make
TikTok.
it to BET to do those things anymore. You can
Exactly.
do it from
And so
home.
now it's like, it's attainable, because if you're funny or quirky, or, just look different than other people, or wear funny clothes, or whatever, like
If
literally
you
you
can
could wake
stand
up in the
out.
morning. Yeah, you could wake up in the morning and have a million followers. Like I've seen it. Like I've seen people, like that. I've seen people that they got a couple hundred followers. They do one little funny video, and the next day you're like, where did this
Where'd they
come
come
from?
from? Now they're everywhere.
Now they're everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And like I forget the guy's name, right? The oh my goodness, was it his name Dogface? I forget. I don't want to say it wrong. With the cranberry juice. Do you see that? Do you know he was on a skateboard?
Okay,
And he
I'm
was
gonna tell
drinking
you
the
this is a
cranberry
bad
juice.
road to go down with me because I'm not a pop culture person.
Yeah. So I mean, like, it can happen overnight. I mean, literally, it was a dude, and he's like in his 40s. I mean, and he has a TikTok, and all he was doing was skateboarding, and drinking ocean spray cranberry juice, and literally overnight, he's a worldwide sensation. He was a regular man that was just chilling with his girlfriend at the time. Now I believe they're engaged or married, and
I think it's
so
important
it's
to
like,
understand he's still a regular man. Like
I
he's still a
know, but
regular man. He just
no,
has an
you're right.
incredible amount of celebrity that he didn't have before that.
Yeah, he's a regular man that's doing commercials with Snoop Dogg. Like it's
Yeah.
craziness.
But
So
that goes to
we
show
live
that
in a crazy world now, like social media.
yeah. It just goes to show that like
But yeah,
any of us regular people could be the next big thing or whatever it is that we want.
for sure,
And it can come unexpectedly.
for sure. No, that's why I think it's even more important. We're gonna go back, right? Kind of go back to what we were talking about, work ethic. So with that being said, everybody starts at zero, and literally, and that's another thing that I talk about is being unequivocally you. Be you, because nobody could be you. And so, okay, so here you are, right? You are you. You're not trying to be nobody else. You're not trying to dress like anybody else. You talk how you talk. You might talk in slang. You might not know particular words. You might have a very funny draw or inflection in your voice, but you're still you. And then again, about work ethic, you put out your content all the time, and then boom, one day somebody notices you, or one day you being you just so happens to attract one. Going back, attracts your vibe attracts your tribe. And so whether it's conventional or unconventional, work ethic to me is important. And I slack sometimes. I'm not perfect at that, but I will say that I'm not where I am now, and I definitely want to be even further in my career, as the years go on and I build more relationships and rapport with, your city, other cities, other organizations, philanthropic, things that I want to get into, right? Like, it's about work ethic and putting your best foot forward as much as you can every day, to the best of your ability, because you just never know who's watching. You never know who's listening. You never, for your journalists that you're talking about, you never know who's reading your content. A lot of times I tell people, on Facebook, we'll just talk about Facebook. You might post something that's near and dear to you, and you might get 4 likes, but you don't know who really saw it. You don't know who really watched it. Now, if you have a business page, you're able to see that, but I'm talking more like personal, because a lot of people don't really have business pages. So this is kind of just to my people out there that are listening, that, you post on Facebook and you like to talk about things. You don't have a business page, but you get discouraged about, like, man, like, I don't get it. Like, I feel like God gave me these words, or I feel like I was inspired by this event in history, and I'm sharing these words, and nobody's watching it. Nobody's reading it. Nobody is engaging in it. And it's like, you just don't know who's watching. I go back to Andrew. I didn't know Andrew was watching my artwork evolve for 5 years, until, he then became the director of the Lake Woods Art Center, and then reached out to me. But that was a seed that was planted by him being intrigued by my work 5 years ago, 6 years ago. So, and that's to anybody's account. You could be a writer and you can write beautiful things for years, and you can have books and be like, man, nobody reads my books. Nobody cares. And then one day, just, I don't know. Sometimes it takes that. It's that one person that reads your book, and that person just so happens to have influence or affluence, and they, imagine being a writer, right? And you wrote like 3 or 4 books, maybe, 3 or 4 books, and you've been doing it for about 3 or 4 years. You write a book a year, maybe. And on your 4th book, you write it and you kind of start giving up. Imagine Oprah and Oprah's book club. Imagine literally Oprah. I get goosebumps. You're giving up. You're done. I'm done writing. Like, nobody's reading it. I don't understand. And then literally Oprah stumbles upon it, because Oprah, like you said, Oprah's a regular human being. I'm sure Oprah goes on Amazon just like you and I go to Amazon. Oprah watches TV just like we watch TV.
Right.
So your book is on Amazon. I don't know. Nobody's bought it. Maybe you sold like 10, 20 copies. And the title intrigues Oprah Winfrey. And she buys
her
it.
Assistant.
There you go. Or her assistant. And her assistant buys it and reads it and says, hey, I read this book. You need to check it out, girl. Check this out.
Yeah.
And she reads it, boom, Oprah's book club. And then immediately you're not an overnight sensation, but to the world, you're an overnight sensation.
And
you've been writing books for years.
Not only that, your sales of books 1 through 3 go through the roof.
Exactly.
So you wrote these books that you were sitting here making this story in your head that they would never sell, and then you can't print them fast enough.
I know. I think about Tyler Perry's story. I think about the story. I forget her name. Oh my goodness! Don't sue me. The one, I believe, the young lady that wrote Harry Potter. You think about these people that
J.K. Rowling.
Yeah, Rowling. You think about these amazing human beings that have written beautiful plays and books and movies, scripts, and they're they're over the radar, right? Like forever, and then we say out of nowhere, but they've been putting the hard work in the whole time, It just is that one person or that group of people to catch your vibe. And so I don't know. I think for me, we're talking right about a lot of different things, but I think it all sinks in together in regards to work ethic. It's about working hard, whether you're in college and you're becoming a lawyer, you're becoming a doctor, you're becoming an accountant, or you're like me. I went to college, but I would say if you're an artist, don't go to college, because there's so much material online now. Like I call it YouTube University. YouTube University. There is so many videos on YouTube at this
Trust
point.
me, I know.
For artists, or for people that want to learn how to act, or for people that want to learn how to write, for people that want to learn another language. I remember, oh my goodness, is it Rosetta Stone?
Mhm.
It's interesting. Like when when I was a kid, you want to learn another language, you buy Rosetta Stone, and trust, Rosetta Stone was not cheap.
Right.
Now, anything you want, you can have
You can
pretty
literally
much.
download Duolingo now on your phone.
Exactly. There's apps that literally, Google Translate. There's apps that literally you hold your phone up, and while the person is talking,
It'll
it's
translate it to
translating.
you.
So it doesn't even matter. It does matter, but like in the context of like living life and allowing things to stop you from going to that next level, or stop you from going to that dream vacation to Spain or to Germany that you want to do, but you're worried about language. There's apps for that. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
and I think that's a good point, because it depends on what you want to do. If what you want to
Yep.
do is learn Spanish, then
Yep.
you probably need to get a Spanish coach, Spanish teacher, Rosetta
Yep.
Stone. If what you want to do is go to Spain,
Yep.
Google Translate is fine.
There you go.
It,
You'll enjoy yourself, and
yeah,
it'll be fun figuring out language translations while you're there. Like,
right.
yeah, I think it's great.
That's so, so awesome. So I want to do a quick pivot, because I want to talk about Lake Wales.
Okay, for sure.
And so I know that our CRA3 coordinator, Daryl Starling, reached out to you a while back, and started talking to you about this mural project in Lake Wales. So I know what happened from my perspective. Can you tell us about, how this all started from your perspective?
So man, I believe it was a text from Daryl. And I'll be real, you get texts like this sometimes and you just think it's like too good to be true. And so really that was my first instinct. Like, oh man, Daryl seems cool, but this seems too good to be true. Because we had a great conversation. Whatchamacallit, I believe Andrew alley-ooped my information to Daryl, and then Daryl contacted me.
Mhm.
And so that initial phone call with Daryl was great. I mean, we talked about everything. We talked about life, and we talked about God, and we talked about our hearts for like our particular cities that we live in, and then building a bridge. Because my whole thing is build bridges, not kingdoms. So
We're
like
getting
building a
there.
bridge from Ocala to Lake Wales, and how can that even how can that work? I believe it can. And so the initial conversation was amazing. I hung up the phone and I thought to myself, okay, it was cool, but like, really? Like, I could possibly paint an intersection of a road? Like, I have never done that before. I have painted on roads, or I have painted on cement or concrete parking lots. So I have experience in that. But I said to myself, man, like, God, is this a door that you're going to allow to open? And so that was that perspective from the beginning. And then when it started to really flesh out, I just kind of would sit back and be like, wow, man, like, like, I don't know, like, I just, it was like the whole too good to be true thing. But when it started becoming reality, and I just said, man, like, this is cool. This is big. And it was just a really beautiful moment when I started realizing that it could happen. Because, of course, with anything, with the city or legal or organizations, there's
Red
checks
tape.
and balances, there's meetings, there's approvals and rejections. So in my mind, I was like, this could go anywhere. It could be a yes, it could be a no. And I was just kind of holding tight and praying, and I was kept saying, God, if this is for me, if this is what you want for me in Lake Wales, and the relationship that I'm building with the city of Lake Wales, if this is what you want to continue to foster and grow and nurture, then yeah, allow the checks and balances and the meetings and all these things to go smoothly. And literally, I mean, week after week, it was always like positivity. It was always like, okay, like, yes, like it was like we had a meeting. Yeah, we're still going. Another meeting. Yes, budget got approved. We're still going. Like, like it just was like, we're still going. We're still going. And then really what did it for me, and I'll just be real. I'll just say it on this podcast on camera. I went to go visit Avenue and C Street, and I got emotional. Um, I saw the street, right, and a lot of the buildings are there's a couple that are like dilapidated. They're empty, and I got emotional because in my heart of hearts, I saw this vision of this street flourishing. I saw an art gallery. I saw a restaurant down the ways, 2 blocks down. You can see a church. And the church is there, but when I'm talking about, the buildings are empty. There's boards on the windows. So with those buildings, I was seeing, man, I see this place flourishing. People walking around, dressed up. I hear music. I see an art gallery. I see a restaurant. I see things for people to be able to do. And then a couple blocks down, there's a church that is there. And I was like, how beautiful, like
I
how
actually
beautiful
grew
to
up in
be
that
able to
church.
walk down that street and be able to see a church at the end.
Mhm.
And I immediately called Daryl, and I called him. It was Saturday, and I was like, man, I'm sorry to call you on a Saturday, but I just needed to tell you, like, I see something. I don't ever consider myself a prophet or nothing like that, but I see something. There's something that I see here, and I just see this street. I don't know what the plans are. I just told him I don't know what the plans are for the city with the street, but I see it being something very profound if the city allows it, if the city, the people, and then the government side allow it to be that. And I just got really, really excited. I gave him a phone call, and then after that, we shot the video. It was like the announcement video um, for the project. Shout out to Eddie Dixon for an amazing video that he did for me, and he had a drone in the sky and stuff like that. But I'm really excited. So from my point of view, I'm really, really excited. Just I don't know. I just kind of feel like it's the beginning of something big.
It very much is.
It's the beginning of something big. That's what I feel. And I felt it felt so real when I was there street side and I saw the intersection. I was looking around, looking at the buildings, and I was like, this is cool. There's something very amazing that will happen here. So
Talk to us about the image itself. Of course, I know what it is, but I love hearing it from other people's perspective because I feel like I talk a lot. So tell us about
yeah.
the image itself, what it's going to look like and what it means to you.
So the image is gonna be the face of a lion, and it's gonna be bordered almost like a painting, like a beautiful painting. So the lion will be essentially the painting, and then there will be a border that will act as a frame. And you guys were so gracious to give me a list of names of community leaders from times past, historically for the city of Lake Wells that will be etched, if you will, like etched in the frame. And so you'll have this beautiful lion and the names of historical leaders and community leaders for Lake Wells on the frame. Along, inside of the lion, I do this thing where like I put like phrases and words of affirmation. It's just kind of something that I've been including in my artwork because words are very powerful. And even though you can express something representationally with, whether it be a human, an animal, a plant, whatever it might be, you can express it that way. I still believe in the power of words.
Mm-hmm.
And so to see the word victory, to see the word, love, or love your neighbor, or we will not live in fear, like to see those words in a painting, in a magazine, in a billboard.
Mm-hmm.
To me, words of affirmation are powerful. Like it's powerful, and I believe in it. So there'll be words of affirmation throughout the mane, and just kind of written some parts of the face. And so I'm just really excited about it, and I believe that the lion itself will, my vision is seeing kids, kids. I love kids and adults, right? But I'm a teacher at heart, and so children, there's just something very profound about a child, because a child has, I mean, to a certain degree, has not been exposed to all of the rough and tough and the tumble of life.
Right.
Prayerfully speaking, parents are protecting their children from that, and but preparing them, protecting them, but preparing them for life, because life can be hard and life can be rough. But the thing is, it's like, as a child, in the midst of that innocence, being able to read victory, or to see a lion that's fierce and that's powerful, and to allow that imagery to inspire a child that's walking down the street, or walking from school, or going to church, or going to the youth center. That's what I envision. Like, I
Yeah.
envision an image that's empowering to the next generation of leaders. And when they read the names of the leaders, they say, one day my name's going to be, engraved or etched. I want to do something so profound for this city that, my name will be etched in stone. Not that that's important, not that that's what we live for, right? But it's like, it is also inspiring to say, wow, this person, this organization did such an amazing job at uplifting the city that they had to commemorate her. They had to commemorate him or them. Like, it's just a very empowering thing. And so that's a really cool idea, because at first it was just going to be the lion, and then in the words of affirmation, but then we met together, and we talked about the names. And this is a very powerful component to add, because once you start talking about specific people, then that registers, oh man, like, I want to look this person up. Or people might start, Googling, well, who's this person and who's that person? And then their stories can inspire as well, even after they leave the mural. So it's very exciting. Even the event itself, I'm excited for. And I pray that the whole city comes out and enjoys themselves. And I feel very blessed to be able to speak, like, alongside the mayor. Like, who am I? Like, I'm just an artist, man. I'm just an artist from Shalimar, Florida. Like a little small town USA. Like, who is EJ Nieves, right? So I feel so honored and blessed. And I just want to, I want to thank the city of Lake Wells for allowing me, commissioning me to do this. And I would be remiss to not also thank Andrew Allen. Thank you, Andrew, for connecting me with Daryl, and then thank you, Daryl, for connecting me with your team, and being able to meet you, Sarah, and the rest of the team. And then shout out to Cheryl. I don't know who else is on the team, but I'm very, very, very grateful and humbled by this experience. And God continues to open doors. And I will share this to kind of close out with my thoughts on the lion. God has had me painting lions now for about 5 years. And there's a hashtag that goes along with it, hashtag the journey of the lion, or journey of the lion. And I found it very, like, intriguing, that we're doing a lion, because the lion is this animal that continues to follow me throughout the story of my artistic career. And not that I'm trying to walk away from a lion, but it's like, I forget, like, I forget about it. And God will always say, nope, remember, the lion plays a very big role in your story, like in your testimony. And I'm going to continue bringing a lion up to your attention, until until never, until, the lion is like my logo. Maybe that's what God's trying to tell me. I don't know. Or it's just that the lion is just part of the testimony. And Revelations 5:5 is a piece of that as well, in the scripture in the Bible. And then, my name is Ness, no eye has seen. And this stands for, no eye has seen, no ear has heard, no mind has imagined what God has prepared for those that love him. And that's 1 Corinthians 2:9. So it's just I thank God that, he's blessed me with the ability to paint and to meet beautiful people and to love people. That's all I want to do. I want to love God, love people, and build bridges for art. That's my goal. That's my mission.
That's so awesome. I think that's a great place to end the interview. I'm very, very excited about the mural, and I look forward to working with you more. Before we go, tell everybody how to get in touch with you.
So again, my name is EJ Nieves. My artist name is Ness, Nehs. You can find me on Instagram at official Ness, or check out my gallery at Ness Galleries. And then I'm on Facebook too. Same exact thing. Website www.officialnehs.com.
All right. Thank you so much for being on Love in Public today. We're excited to have you, and we'll have to have you back.
Thank you so much.
Support each other, hold each other.